What word describes a... Which of these women recorded a James Bond theme song first? Which of these kings cannot speak? Which of these Italians is the oldest? Bruno Tonioli. On board a ship, a purser is in charge of what? Rum, money. Which of these birds? Which of these war films is set most? Which of these countries does not have a president? Which part of England was covered by? Which of these is said to? Which of these actors? Which of these is a horse? What is the most common way of saying thank you in French? Grazie, merci, obrigado. What is England's largest historical county? The World Series is America's annual championship. Actress Dakota Johnson is the daughter of which Hollywood star? Kim Basinger, Kathleen Turner, Melanie Griffith. A species of spider in Joshua Tree National Park is named after which singer? Lem. To really enjoy something is to be having the time of your what? Years, life, span. Cardiology deals with which of these? Which of these was a classic comedy starring Tony Hancock? Which of these singers had a UK chart hit before the others? Kiki Dee, Peggy Lee, Kenny G. What word means a large tear in a piece of fabric? How many sides? Which of these are consecutive prime numbers? Which of these is a genuine language setting on Facebook? Pirate English, Dog Latin, Double. On which date in 2022 did Queen Elizabeth II die? Which of these films? Who would be given an apis? Inigo Jones is remembered as. Bertram is an old Scottish word meaning to do what? Cheat, tweet, bleat. Bryce Norton. What Aboriginal instrument was originally made? Which of these is a style of hat, similar to a flat cap, but hard? Ascot cap, Newmarket cap, Epsom cap. In TVs, the A-Team, B.A. Baracus suffered from a fear of what? Spiders, water, flying. What farm animals try to get as muddy as possible in the mobile game, Hogwash? Sheep, pigs, goats. The 2014 Nobel Prize in Physics was awarded for the invention of what color LED? Red, blue, green. Which rapper features on Katy Perry's #1 single, California Girls? 50
Alright, this might be the most relaxing game I've ever seen. It's called Tasty Travels, and it's incredibly easy to play. All I have to do is put two identical cups together, and they automatically merge into a big
Which of these is an example of a simile? Green grows the grass, bittersweet, as white as snow. What species of bear is Paddington Bear? Grizzly, panda, spectacled. Which of these US states lies furthest west? Which Bond actor appeared in the film, Mrs. Doubtfire? George Lazenby, Daniel. Which of these wrote one of the Gospels in the Bible? The adjective, labros, means to have big what? Nostrils, ears, lips. Which of these England cricket captains was born in England? Owen Moore. How can muggy weather also be described? Which 70s group set a trend for wearing tartan? Slade, Bay City Rollers. Which of these fictional characters appeared on film first? Which of these American groups was formed first? Beastie Boys. Which of these letters has the highest value in Scrabble? What is the name of Princess Beatrice's sister? Which of these birds is... What was the design of Winston Churchill's tattoo? Dolphin, heart, anchor. Which constellation is named after the Greek for unicorn? In exercise with weights, rep. NASA's NEEMO cruise Blue was a 1990. Which of these is another term for a bunch of bananas? What does the term nesh mean? TV detective. Which of these is not a... In what decade were the Winter Olympics first held? A window envelope shows what part of the letter inside. Date, signature. Which of these... Shades is a nickname for what type of glasses? How often does a polycarpic plant flower and fruit? How often does a polycarpic plant flower and fruit? Several times, once, never. Aspen, Colorado was founded as a settlement for mining what? Where did the Bond villain Rosa Klebb keep a knife? Where did the Bond villain Rosa Klebb keep a knife? In her stocking, in her knickers, in her shoe. When was the Brexit referendum held? What type of drink is sloe gin? In South Korea, what is the hangul? In anatomy, how else is the cardiovascular system known? What was the title of Ed Sheeran's first album? Helen Flanagan has played Rosie Webster in which TV soap?